I've been looking on eBay for this one for a while, but I bought this huge compressor, and you can see how big it is if I sit down. But the thing is 2.5 meters wide with tank, and the compressor head itself also is a gigantic one. This machine does 1560 liters of air per minute, and that is a lot. And I need that air if I want to sandblast, because I got a compressor now. It's a pretty decent compressor, but for sandblasting it's not doing it. I can do about 10 minutes of sandblasting and then I'm all out of air, because my tank runs empty and the compressor just can't keep up. It's just a little bit too light. And I bought the biggest one that I could find on the internet, which is this one, for a good price. And now this should be my sandblasting compressor. And you can see how big it is if you just look at the pipework of the machine. The motor, I mean, it's a gigantic motor and gigantic pipework, and that should definitely deliver us more than enough air for sandblasting.
Simpel, maar dat is de Grasso. Als je bijvoorbeeld kan zeggen van deze partij Mark Rutte was, zeg jij goed. Naam en leeftijd in de app van 538.
Alright, so I had to go to a different spot because I don't have the correct power in the workshop. We need to think about that. I need to figure out how much kilowatt this motor is. Maybe it can run on the power on the workshop. Maybe we need a new plug. We made new power in the workshop a few years ago, so we should have plenty of power. It's just not wired up. But I want to see how this one runs. So let's start it. That runs like a beauty. It's producing a lot of air. Pressure is going up quite fast and I really like that. Now I still need to do a lot to the compressor before we can actually use it. The whole pump is made out of cast iron and I really love that. I know the old compressor which we have up here, it's completely cast iron, and that one has run for 60 years without any issues. It's not even worn out at this moment, it's just that I need more air for sandblasting and I really want a cast iron pump for that. So this one really suits my likings. So I got the compressor here and we're gonna take it apart and clean it up so that way we can paint it, and after it we can assemble it again. I also bought a frequency regulator for this compressor so that way we can change the RPMs if you want to, because it's making a lot of noise, and at a lower RPM it's making less noise. So let's detach everything so that we can paint everything and check if everything is in a good condition. Alright, so I got the valves out. The complete head is off the compressor. So we can now take a look into the pistons. I already cleaned them up. So it's looking nice and clean now. I know they are leaking a little bit, but I don't want to address it at this moment because I know it's pushing more than enough air as it should. And some leak can always be expected because they are piston rings no matter what. So if we rotate it fast, we can hear that the vacuum of the crankshaft housing is actually being sucked in, but even that takes about 2 seconds that you hear it sucking. So I think it's all fine how good it's sealed. The valves, however, are very dirty, and I already cleaned this up a lot just with a towel, but the backside is very dirty, and that's because these keep taking fresh air all the time, so everything what's in the fresh air is getting in air. Yes, there is a fine filter in front of it, but it doesn't mean that it gets everything out. So what it doesn't get out is going into the valve and into the head and eventually causing everything to get dirty. So I just want it cleaned up. That way I know I have a nice and clean compressor again. And then we spray paint it and get it installed. To do this properly, I want to open this up so I can clean up everything and make sure it doesn't rust away, as this seems pretty rusted. I like to change that by making it clean again, and maybe I even need to paint it so it doesn't become this rusty anymore. I'll have to see how that all looks like, if it's possible to paint it or not, or if it should be blank steel.
Je zorgt ervoor dat ze altijd veilig op de fiets staan. De week gratis producten, zoals gratis en of gratis milkpralines of hazelnootpas. En schutters, ga naar beneden.com voor jouw favoriete maat. Ja, precies. Die biertonnen nog eventjes, de laatste restjes nog eventjes de tuin uitgaan. Maar het is ons toch gelukt. Nee. Speciaal? Nee. Maar is het echt?
Now, I don't know how old the oil is inside here, but for that case we better replace it. So let's drain that oil off.
Een bakje melk. Hoe beter. En dit is een pakje vitaliteit.
Well, that was about time to replace that oil, as it seems completely black. Black oil mostly means it's worn out, so it's good to have it replaced. Alright, so I got the head mounted back because I want to have this mounted if I paint everything, because I want this painted. It's now a bit worn off. I mean, this had paint on before, but it probably damaged out just because of time and heat, because this is aluminium and it's made to get hot. And yeah, if it gets hot, then of course the paint burns off. But I want to apply new paint now with this time of painting. So this is how we paint it.
In the corner of the tool shed, there's a beast that comes alive, waking up the whole workshop when you push the button on the side. The compressor gets us working, piston up and down. Get the nailer over here now. The mechanics won't complain. They won't worry about carpentry. Oh, you've just gotta hear it play its game. The compressor gets us working in the land. Turn the crankshaft with the piston up and down.
So I sandblasted the tank and the pump and everything, and it's very clean now. So this way we can paint it very nice. As you can see here, this was all black. It's now a lot more blank, so we can give it a really nice black color again. And this was also completely black, but I sanded it down really good, and now we can paint this stuff. So paint should attach properly to these parts, and I think it's gonna look really cool once I finish painting it. So I think we better start painting. I finished painting and this is what it looks like. So we got the tank, the pump and motor, and the safety guard with the pipe to the tank from the pump. So this worked out really well so far, and I really love the color. So I'm very curious how it looks like if I put it all together. But I think it's a really cool color combination. I think it will definitely pop out.
Welders give it all they can, and every week they burn out one, at least reputed for the best drilling rigs. There is nowhere to run, nowhere to run. All across the fields of construction, all the hydraulics will fly. So many makers with stories of quality. Our little Kaiser will never ever die.
That's a nice and intense color combination. I really like the look of this one. So I just love it when it pops on an air compressor like this.
The compressor gets us working in the land. Turn the crankshaft with the piston up and down. Get the nailer over here now. The mechanics won't complain. They won't worry about carpentry. Oh, you've just gotta hear it play its game. The compressor gets us working in the land. Turn the crankshaft with the piston up and down, up and down. The welders give it all they can, and every week they burn out one, at least reputed for the best drilling rigs. There is nowhere to run, nowhere to run, nowhere to run. All across the fields of construction, all the hydraulics will fly. So many makers with stories of quality. Our little Kaiser will never ever die.
So a few weeks ago I was looking on eBay, and we got a really nice compressor now, but it has an old-fashioned control system. I don't like that, so I found this nice frequency regulator on eBay, which is more than plenty enough power for that compressor. And with that we can actually make the frequency of the electromotor variable to what it needs. So if it only needs to add a little bit of air, then I don't want to run it for full throttle, because this will make a lot of noise. So I want to make it as calm as possible, but still, when I request a lot of air, then I want this thing to rev up and run the maximum air that it can do. But if it doesn't have to produce that much air and just keep a stationary 10 bar, then I want it to run very slow so it doesn't make that much noise. So let's see if we can make something with that in combination with this nice frequency regulator. Of course, I first want to test if this is even running the motor. So we're first going to hook it up in a test situation to see if we can swing the compressor up and control it a little bit. And then we will attach sensors to it to make it control the compressor properly. Because I at least want the pressure control on it, and I want a few features more now that we are working with it. So let's see what we can do.
To keep it rockish and not all that jazzy. Like a barrel rolling, like a wheel turning, like a blazing flame, all protections burning. Rocks and work and steel demand, candle shops and barroom bands. Kinda lose me on wires, the wires thick enough to warp my metal world. The t-shirts must be purged, into which we will emerge retro and codes. Gotta book this time, I said, gotta take it all inside.
So I got everything wired in, so we should be able to turn up this motor. Frequency generator is attached, and hopefully this is gonna work. I made an adapter plug because this is only 16 amps, but we need 32 amps, which is a size bigger. I think with the frequency regulator, once tuned in, we can limit it at 16 amps and then it should be fine. That way we have it running safe and a little bit less powerful as original, but it really only requires the high power at the final filling of the tank, so I don't think it's that much of an issue. Otherwise we can still always run 32 amps to it. So let's plug it in and see what happens. Alright, so this is really neat. We can set it back to a maximum of 16 amps. So I just installed a pressure sensor, and this one is going to detect if the tank is full or not, and it should switch off at 8 bar and switch on at 6.5 again, and I think that's a nice way to have this compressor working. Alright, back at the big compressor, and with this one I do have one problem. It's giving air amazingly. I mean, the amount of air that I get out of it, I can sandblast continuously with this one at 6 bars. So that's amazing. It's a lot of air. The issue that I have is that these heads are not airtight. So it means they slowly leak back if it's turned off. And another issue that I'm having is this motor does not want to turn on if the tank is pressurized, and that's because the compression is that high that the motor doesn't actually have the torque to kick it on, and that's an issue. I don't know how they worked with that one in the past. I do know there is a pressure release system on here to actually get it started, but that doesn't really seem to do what it should do. And I know these valves inside the heads are not perfectly tight. I tried getting new ones from the original manufacturer, or at least the company that took over the original one, as the original one doesn't exist anymore, but they don't want to sell me the parts that I need. They say they just don't have them anymore. And probably this pump is 75 years old, so I can believe in that. Now I need to fix my issue, and I can try to restore everything in that head to get it properly. But in the end, it's giving good air at this moment, so I want to keep it that way. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna install an extra valve, a one-way valve on this position. So that way, if the compressor is pumping air, air will come in. But if it's not pumping air, the air cannot go out. That way the head gets depressurized, so it can always start easily again. And once it's having pressure, it will start pushing it down into the tank again. So I bought a massive valve for that and a piece of tube with a nice thread on it. So I can make the thread on the valve, and then I can weld in a new part in between here. So that way we should have an enclosed system, and that should get this compressor really going well. So let's get to install that one. And I hope it's gonna fix my problem with this one. Sometimes we just do run into problems that I haven't seen before. But that's what these projects are for, right? So let's get started.
Rolling through with the frame torch, the split torch with the beats on and the heat. Coming through, let's work some steel. Metal surge comes up from the TDE. Gotta boot this time. Gotta take that life inside. Give me a sweet workshop life to keep it rockish and not all that jazzy. Like a barrel rolling, like a wheel turning, like a blazing flame, all pretensions burning. Rocks and working, steel demand. Candle shops and barroom bands. Gotta lose me on the wires thick enough to warp my Mozart world. The t-shirts must be burst into which we will emerge when show and goes. Gotta book this time. I said gotta take it all inside. When I'm cycling over and gone, please put me off in the Soviet separate room. Off from all the others and out in my own room. Rocks and work and steel demand. Candle shops and barroom bands. The old man in his dusty overcoat, painting through the Brooklyn lands, watching metal surge as they approach.
We got a tiny leak here, and we need to fix that. So let's empty out the compressor so we can weld that. 'Cause 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 'cause
of which we will emerge with show and coast. Gotta book this time, I said gotta take it all inside. When I'm cycling over
Alright, this is running really nice. It's now on 9.5 bars, and I think that's a really nice pressure for the workshop. So that's what we set it to. Everything seems to be airtight. So that's really nice. I do feel a breeze here, but I don't know if that's from the outside or from the compressor. This one is also blowing a lot at this moment. These also are pretty hot. So now it's not leaking air anymore over the filters, so everything stays in the tank. So I now have a perfect compressor for sandblasting, as this one is doing a really good job. It's really holding good air now with the new valve in place, so that worked perfect. What I don't like yet is the pressure sensor, as I got here this little sensor. And exactly that's why I don't like it. It doesn't have a proper hysteresis and it's not quite accurate. I mean, it's doing the job, it's still keeping the compressor under its maximum pressure, but it's not switching on quick enough, so I don't think it's very reliable. So I need another one for the future. But I'm gonna have my eyes open until I find one which I like. For now, this compressor is in good shape and I call this project a success. It's a big beast to sandblast with and that's what I needed. Maybe we install this one on top of the workshop later on. We don't know about that one yet, but we first got some other projects to do. So thank you for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you like this video. Check out my YouTube channel as I have a lot more videos of restorations and stuff I built. So this is just one of the things I restored to help me build and restore other things.